Hi, everyone. Good evening. We're back for the clip for the Spirit program. That's the Mind Body 12-week program that I have been executing for 20 years. And right now, I have our two winners, our grand prize winner and our runner-up, who have actually going on week 5 this week. I can't believe that we're going to be going on week 5. But before we do that, we want to give you a little insight to what this week was like for them, and maybe like something they saw about this portion. This is where the program gets a little bit more intense, because we're not only looking at ourselves, but we're looking at our past. We're looking at things that happen in our life that caused, like the cause and effect is what I will call this past week. The book is called Out of Control, which they just got completed. It's among 10 books in one course book called Your Toolbox for Life. And Out of Control used to be called Anger Management, but people never wanted to do it. So I changed the name and now everybody does it. And it's kind of fooling you, but the material didn't change. Out of Control is how things get out of control in our lives and the reason for them and the causes and effects and why. And then they're going to be going into the art of forgiveness and self-healing next week. So this is again, a very intense time because you're having to look back. And this is part of this particular segment is what I use for the grief healing program. But it's among this program as well. So I'm going to start with you tonight, Gail, and I'm going to ask you, in Out of Control, there were different sections that were showing how life can be unfair, how we can pick up a lot of patterns and habits from people that were well-meaning, but people from our past, whether it's parents or grandparents or other people, and it shapes us. And part of this program is helping it shed some old patterns that we learned that may not be serving us in the best way. So can you just share one thing, if you don't mind, about that?
Well, I mean, I try to take the things that I know that my parents did, and I try to turn it around when I notice that I'm doing it and stop because I don't, and I did this even as the kids were younger. If I caught myself doing something my mother did to us, like don't tell your father, I automatically said, no, you can tell your father anything you want. There are no secrets in this house.
So let me rephrase that a little bit. So what you're doing is you are taking a behavior that you know is not something that you agree with. It's a behavior or a belief that you, and again, we can change our beliefs as we get older and we can continue to change them throughout our life. Some things that we've been taught, we find later, I don't know, that they're not what we agree with. Whether that's a religious belief or a behavior that we saw in someone. So you were able to change that. It's self-awareness, and that's what happens. Is there anything that was in the program that you saw that stuck out to you that maybe you hadn't thought about, or maybe something about how you behave with yourself because of things that were done that now you would not want done to your children? The guilt, the shame, any of the stuff that came up in this?
Um, I was because of the way I was raised. I was always very careful of how I did things with my kids or said things. I never. I mean, I was raised when you call people stupid, and that is one of the words that are basically out of my vocabulary because
Right.
it's you never teach someone, you never tell somebody they're stupid. They may not know something, but that's not being stupid. So it and I already do that is I turn things around because I don't like the negative.
Right. And that makes sense because what you're doing, and we talked a lot about it the last couple of weeks, is we've done some word replacement, words that are words that we learned and behaviors we learn. We repeat things almost on autopilot. And it's sad because you're right. Anybody can learn anything if they're taught. But if you don't know it, or even if you have, I don't care if I don't know how to spell Smith and I want to ask you, I'm not going to be ashamed. That's where I was trying to get you to look at it more as how did it, what behaviors did you see, how it made you feel, not as much what you changed for your children, but what did it change in you? Like, what did you see in you that was something that, you know, that this lesson brought up? That was something that you had to either deal with or you had to encounter, but you've already mentioned some of it, the negative behavior, the negative talk, or putting someone down or belittling someone, which is on like that's just something that I'm not tolerable of at all in the workplace, at home, at school, nowhere. No one wants to be belittled, but the sad part about it is so many people do it to themselves. They beat themselves up in their own head all the time because you're not still having it done to you by someone else. But how many times are you doing it to yourself? How many times do you find yourself talking to yourself that way?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I do.
That's
I do.
yep.
I try to stop it, but yeah, I do. But as far as if I see someone else belittle another person, then I automatically feel like, oh, what a bully. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter who they are. They're a bully
Right, but you're
because
actually people are bullying themselves more than anyone else, which is sadder to me. If they do it to someone else, they do it to themselves, but we don't see what's in other people's heads, but we're so aware of how people treat other people or being able to look from the outside, from the inside out, but I want everybody to be able to look from for the inside
yeah,
themselves and see how what we do within ourselves reflects our confidence. I said it today. I did a clip on confidence. I did two of them now, where confidence is not being egotistical. I can be confident about who I am, my abilities. If I don't know something, I'd be confident enough to ask and not feel ashamed or that I look stupid to someone. I don't even use that word. That is something that's not in my vocabulary. Even when I teach, I usually say, you're not silly by asking that question. But I've heard people say, "Why'd you ask me that? I'm not stupid." Like, they're very insecure about even being asked something because they think when someone's asking something, they're implying that they don't know. Sometimes it can just be a question. Do you know? If you don't, I'd like to share it with you. I'd like to show you, but people that are very insecure because of the way they've been belittled or shamed. And it's really important that we don't carry that shame forward, that we don't do that to ourselves. And that's what out of control is about. And so that's just a piece of what was learned in this. And it learns about how life isn't always fair. So thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting because, you know, we don't always see it the whole picture when we first look at this program, but then we go back and look at it again, and then another time that we have like a standard thing when people are learning. The lessons are short but powerful, and you go back three times, and every time you go back, you see something different. So that's interesting, and this one's tying in with next week. So, Christy, I'd like you to share something that I know you could relate to what we were talking about, something else that may have stood out for you.
As far as not expressing your feelings, you
Oh
just,
yeah.
keep things inside until, it explodes, or you keep things inside. And I'm very, I don't know what word, transparent, that you see it in me. My family well aware of that. What's wrong with you? They can see the change in my persona and stuff and all. And I just need to be able to, feel something, say something.
It's interesting you say that because they sense it and they see it in you. And that's funny that you're saying this too, because there's been so many people, many over the years, numerous people that have taken this program. And one of the first things people say to them is, "Wow, Christy, what's different? Did you do your hair? Is there something different about you?" And it's not that anything changed on the outside. When you change on the inside, it changes the perception people have of you, period, from the outside. And
Hmm.
they sense that confidence or that openness and that ability to be able to share and to not be afraid. And let's talk about that for just a moment. And then we're going to go off camera because I want to coach on that a little bit. But what happens is people will be upset about something and they will let it go. And then something else will upset them and they let it go. And then it gets to the point where you've just kind of bottled it up inside and it's growing every day and snowballing. And then another thing happens, and that's the thing that you're sitting down to talk to the person about, or at least they think you are, and you just explode and talk about 3 months worth of things that you were unhappy about. And they were like, what just happened? And I do a skit. I won't do it tonight. It's pretty funny. When I'm doing one of my presentations, I love this skit. And I usually, use the man and the wife together, did I just say that the right way? Oh, the husband and the wife, or the man and the woman. Want to make sure I got that correct. Doing the this whole skit together because you've allowed this your whole life, but just because you've allowed it doesn't mean you can't right now start setting boundaries to correct it. And
True.
and when you have something to say, make it about that, whatever that is right then. Or if it's not a good time, because it's got to be good for both people and you got to be in a good setting, you can, make time to do that. But building and building and building is not a good thing to do. And
Right.
so yeah,
And I've
is
learned
that
also that you let people know of I feel, use the I statements of what it is that you're, feeling, or what has happened, or what has occurred, that why you're feeling it. Use those I statements. Take it
I
back
love
to
it.
you.
Thank you for saying that because I don't remember even every little detail that's in the book that might stand out to you, unless I reread the entire thing, which I do a lot of times right before I come on. And that is true. I work also as that the structure of the program is fitness and exercise, moving your body, foundation, sleep, and nutrition. And I say that to clients if I'm working with them for body movement. If you experience pain or you're feeling something, I don't know it. I can't feel it. I need you to share that with me and tell me. So don't just keep doing it and let it be painful. Well, that's really funny because we can apply that same tool to emotional pain,
Mhm.
and feeling. And people don't feel what you feel or even have the same perception sometimes. Maybe they don't even know how you're perceiving something that they're doing or saying. And if you correct it and then they continue, then that's a different matter. That how can I correct something that you don't like if you haven't even shared it with me, but you don't until you 3 months into it and then you explode and tell me all of it at the same time that you didn't like. And that's kind of how things get out of control. So that's what we're doing this week, what out of control. So I'm going to end our clip here. Ladies, thank you so much for sharing. I hope our audience is, again, getting a good glimpse of what the program's about, at least tidbits of it, because it is a different experience for every person. And we will be back with you again next week. So have a wonderful week, everyone, and look for this on Sunday evenings at 7. And you can find it on the YouTube channel. Have a great day.
Hi.